Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be showing you how to make this beautiful corset. Okay, this video is basically all about the drafting process. The video is divided in parts, so this is the drafting process of this corset. Okay, let's delve right in. Okay, so I'm just going to mark out my armhole line. These are the measurements I'll be using, bust 38, and the rest of them I'll show you clearly later. So on my armhole line, I'm using 9 inches for my armhole, and my underbust it's actually 14 and a half, but I came up with half inch, which is 14 now. So my half length 18 inches. Okay, so I'm just ruling it out. That's basically ruling out my basic measurements on my fabric. Okay, so afterwards I'm just going to go for my nipple to nipple, so which is my bust span. Her bust span is 8 inches divided by 2, that is 4 inches. So just marking it out down to the length of the blouse. Okay, because it's a full corset, so we are making a full blouse. So the shoulder is 16 divided by 2, that is 8 inches. So that is what I'm just marking out also for the arm's eye to get the armhole measurement. So that is my yoke area. So I'm just focusing on this side. To get my underbust tightening, I'm just going to remove 1 inch on the both side, 1 inch here and 1 inch on the other side. This is just like me marking out my bustier. Okay, this is my bust point, which is 10 inches, and I'm going to determine how high I want the corset to be, the upper bust, which is the over bust. So I used 8 inches for that. With your knowledge of bustier, trust me, you are going to get this easily. Corset is not that difficult. So I'm just connecting from my nipple points to my under bust. Okay, and I'm also going to do the same on the other side. And you can see the cup is already coming out gradually. So I'm also going to do the same here, but I'll be moving 0.8 on one side and 0.8 on the other side. So that is basically what I am just marking out right now. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to connect my curve. Okay, and you can see is already giving that cup, is already like giving that curve that we need. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to determine the depth, the neck depth, how low I want the neck to be. So I'm using 10 inches. I'm using 10 inches for it. So having determined my 10 inches, I'll mark it out. Okay, and that is where my cup will run from. So because it's already low, I'm not going to like go in so much. I'm just going to, I think I went in with just let's say 0.3. You can see it's 0.3. Yes, just 0.3. So I just curved it to the underbust, and whatever I have here, I'm just adding half an inch to the other side. So I'm connecting it from the underbust line to my side cup line. Okay, up. So I'm just going to connect it up, and it is connecting into the armhole line. Okay, so this is me just drafting out my sweetheart neckline. Okay, so it depends on what you want. You can determine whatsoever neckline that you want. If you already know bustier measurement, bustier marking, this is going to be a piece of cake. So coming to the lower part, I just distributed what I have here is 4 inches, so I just removed 2 inches, which the 2 inches is what we removed in total from our under bust tightening. You can see it's 2 inches. Okay, so that 2 inches is what I'm removing from the bust span line. Okay, so this is because I want my boning lines to be in a slanted form. Yes, I don't want it to just be straight, otherwise I would have just carried that measurements that I did, the markings I did on the underbust, I would have just run it down straight, but I didn't want that. Okay, so I want to, you can see it's kind of slanted, so I'm just going to, because we already removed 2 inches, so this is already equal to what we have on the under bust tightening, so I'm just connecting it. Okay, so having done that, I'm going to determine my center point for my armhole so that I can draft out my armhole measurements. Okay, so before doing this, I would have marked my shoulder slope, but nevertheless, so this is my curve, this is my armhole curve. So I used 3 inches for my neck width. For my neck width, I used 3 inches, and the length I also used 3 inches. Okay, so 3 by 3, and that's my neck curve. So for my shoulder slope, I came down by 1 inch, and I'm just connecting it like so. Okay, so having done that, having gotten all of this, I can determine that I want another slant by the side. But before doing that, I'm marking out my bust measurement. You can see my bust is 38. I've divided it. It's giving me 9.5 plus the 2 inches that I removed from my under bust tightening. So that is 11.5. So whatever that I remove from my under bust tightening in total, I'm going to replace it back. I don't know if you understand that. So you can see the measurements clearly. My waist is 32.5, okay, which is giving me 7.3. So plus 2 inches, that is 9.3. So my hip is already what I used to fold initially. Okay, so that is just what I just marked there. I'm going to connect the lines. You can see what is already looking like. So I want another star line by the side of the cup. So this is just me running another line depending on how I want it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to mark out another star line from where I will run another boning. Okay, so now we have 3 parts. You can see that. Okay, so and our corset pattern is ready. So this is going to be labeled to avoid any confusion, but we are going to label it properly, but we'll mark the back before we come back to complete the labeling. So I'm just indicating, doing some indication, my center, front, you know, and to make sure that we don't get confused. Okay, so we move over to the back. What the measurements I use for the front is also what I'm going to use for the back. So you want to do this because at the back we're also going to have 3 parts, you know, that's like 2 star lines, and that is going to cause us to remove 2 inches also from the back. So you don't want a situation whereby your clothes or your corsets will be short, you'll be having some shortage. So that's why the same measurements we used at the front, which is my hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches. That's what I used for the back. You can see it, okay. 9.5 divided by 38 divided by 4 plus 2 inches. Okay, so you can see I'm just transferring the measurements that I have at the front to the back so that we can work with that measurement. Okay, so I'm connecting it. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the comment section. Okay, so this my waist measurement, I'm going to divide into 3. That way I can have my 3 parts. Okay, I can have my 3 parts for the back. But if you want it to, you can as well use your normal dart measurements, or you divide it by 2. So it is up to you to do what you want. So the same marking I'm also going to do on my armhole line and also on the full length. So I have connected them like so. Now I'm going to remove my darts. I'm just going to mark out 1/2 inch on the both lines, on the both sides of the lines. Yes, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch there. I'm also going to remove 1/2 inch from my back, the last part of the back, which I just did right now, and after which I am just going to measure 11 inches. Okay, so from 11 inches to 22 inches, that's where my dart is going to run from, right? So this is 11 inches. I'm just marking it out to 22 inches. This is to enable me to connect my darts for the back of my corset. Please note, the 2 inches I added while marking my measurements on this pattern paper is what I'm removing as I'm marking out the darts. Okay, one dart leg is having 1 inch, the other dart leg is having another 1 inch. That is making it 2 inches in total. That is the total of the 2 inches that I added from the front. Now if you don't want that, you can by all means mark exactly the measurements that you are working with. You can mark the person's measurements and still do your style line. That will just make your lacing, your back lacing, to be wider. I didn't want the back lacing to be wider because it was on request. That's what the client wanted. She didn't want her back lacing, the spacing between her back lacing, to be much. Just wanted little. So, and I'm not just going to leave my corset like this. Later on in the video, I'm going to show you how I still removed some inches to give space for my lacing on the last pattern, on the last part of this corset. So that's for my lacing. But if you don't want that, you can draft your back without adding 2 inches. Okay, you can just draft it with the exact measurements and it will still give you what you want. The only difference is that the spacing will be a bit much. But if you really want to snatch it so much, it's fine. Okay, this particular client didn't want so much snatching, so I have to work with what my clients want. I don't know if you understand that. Okay, so this is just me connecting the neckline. I did a keyhole neckline for the yoke. All right, So, and after doing that, I'm just going to label my patterns. So this is number 1, 2, and 3. You can already see it. So I'm going to label the back to be 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so this is my back yoke, and I'm just going to label it to avoid mistakes and to avoid some issues while sewing. Okay, so I must add, there are corsets that people want zip, they don't want lacing, right? If you want zip, if you want to add zip to the corset, this pattern is just perfect for you, because this has given you exactly the person's measurements. So all you just need to do is, while transferring on your fabric, you add your seam allowances and you are good to go. You can easily fix zip on this pattern, right? Okay, so having said that, we are just going to determine our waistline for this blouse, and I want it to just have a regular waistline. So I'm going to close up my excess that I have on the front. So I'll just pick it and close it in the shape that is in the pattern that it is having here. And I'll be using pins to hold it down, so that when I want to curve it, I will not have issues. Okay, so I'm also going to do the same thing on the side, on the side, that is the side front, and on the side back. So it just requires carefulness. You pin them down so that you can determine your waistline, how curvy you want the waistline to be. If you also want to leave it straight, it's choice. So, but I don't want to leave it straight. I want it to have just a normal regular curve, whereby the back corset is shorter than the front, which, I mean, that even makes sense, because when your back corset is is the same length with your front, or is, it makes it look longer, and it will not be comfortable. It doesn't look good inside the clothes. Corset on its own shouldn't be too long. So when the back of the corset is also too long, it's even going to press down the bum area, and it will just make it look kind of funny. So your corset, back length of your corset, shouldn't be anything longer than, let's say that it's too long, probably 23. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it out, and you are going to see how this corset is going to look like. When cutting these areas, just be careful. Okay, just carefully trim it, cut it out, and you're going to see how the corset is going to come about. All right, so having done this, I'm going to remove the pins that are there, and I'm just going to cut out all my pattern. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the corset pattern, see how it came about, how it came out. Remember, how your corset pattern turns out to be, that is exactly how your sewing, your final look is going to be. So make sure that you get your markings, your corset marking your pattern correctly. So this is just me labeling how I'm going to sew it. It is very important, very, very, very important, especially the cup area. You don't want to sew the up at the lower part and the down at the can be really confusing. So I'm also labeling it at the back area. On the front side I have 2 pieces, but on the back I have just 1 piece. So I just label the front, and also making sure that I label the upper part and the lower part to avoid mistakes and errors. Okay, so this is how my pattern is coming out. Now coming to the fabric, I have a video on my channel how to make your crepe material. You know, when you don't have crepe material, you see this doll face that I used here, you're going to see how it's going to transform to a skin color crepe material later in the video. I have the video up in my channel, so please do well to watch. Okay, I'm just adding half-inch sewing allowance around. I didn't add any sewing allowance on the upper area because I'm already okay with the length, that is how low it is. Even the lower part I didn't add any seam allowance because I'm already cool with how it is. So my allowances are just on the sides. Okay, so I also just used this pattern that I already cut to cut the lining. So now this is what I was trying to explain. For my back, I removed I think 1.1.5 or 2 inches, but I removed some inches. I just divided the back into 2. This is to give room for my lacing because, like I said, I didn't want so much lacing at the back. I didn't want so much spacing at the back side, so I just removed some inches from the back. This is my center back, so that when I lace, the spacing at the back will just be small. Okay, so you can do this for your own pattern, but like I said, if you don't want it, you want to have a lot of inches to snatch in, you can just determine not to add your 2 inches when drafting your pattern. You can just draft with the exact measurements of the client. Okay, so you can see how the back pattern, how it came about. So this is going to give me just enough room that I need for the lacing of the client. So we use this to cut on the lining, this pattern to cut on the lining. Okay, and making sure that I place it correctly the way it ought to be, right? So moving on to my mesh for the yoke. The mistake and the issues people usually have with the yoke is that they don't place the yoke on the right. They don't place the their pattern on the right way. Like the mesh is not usually placed on the right way. You have the cross. You have the lengthwise and the crosswise. So the way I folded now, I folded on the crosswise. Okay, this selvage area, I fold it. Do you see it? So, and that's, in fact, the way I folded it, my length is just going to sit right. It's not going to have so much stretch. It's just going to have minimal stretch, which is just what I want. Now, what I just did, I just doubled it. I folded it 2 times to double it, okay, because I wanted to double the net. Okay, so, and this is me just cutting it out. So please, if you have any question whatsoever, please feel free to ask your questions on the comments. Thank you for watching up to this point. See you in the next video where I drop the sewing of this corset. Bye bye.